Today's topic is on how to use Vault for added layers of protection to the virtual agent. I'm Victor Chen, and with me today is guest speaker Furqat Selim. I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Victor, for inviting me for this session. My name is Furqat Salim. I'm an outbound product manager in platform privacy and security the team. Thank you all for joining this session. As always, we have to start by reminding you that we'll talk about the things that are on the roadmap. And since we're a publicly traded company, there are rules about making forward-looking statements. So we just want to remind you, please make your purchasing decision based on the product that it exists today. The agenda that we're going to cover. So first of all, we're going to introduce the ServiceNow Vault, and then we'll quickly jump onto the demo with how Vault will protect or add additional layer of protection or privacy to virtual agent, not only on the application layer, but also on the database layer as well. And then we'll talk through some of the resources that we have, and then we'll jump onto Q&A. With that, let's get it started. Customers are wanting to do more with ServiceNow. And in doing so, they're also trying to store more sensitive data in the cloud. At the same time, regulations and cloud security expectations are changing around the world for how data must be protected in different way by industry or global region. This means that we're at an intersection of providing advanced capabilities for sensitive customer data while continuing to deliver on the functionality that they need from us. You can see for some examples on this slide, such as the customer data with customer service management and financial service operation in B2C or B2B2C applications, PHI in healthcare operation, PII in human resource application, procurement data, critical infrastructure data, and security incident information, and much, much more. In parallel, there's an increasing number of security and privacy regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, and the others as well. In the past, we used to see things like encryption only applied to heavily regulated industry. Now we're seeing them applied to almost every industry, business units, applications, or geography, and much more. This also means that this is a great opportunity for ServiceNow because almost every customer could benefit from the solution that we're releasing within ServiceNow Vault. And even today, we're just scratching the surface with what we can offer. So there's a huge opportunity for all of us. As much as we want to meet the default needs of every customer in every situation, what we are seeing is that all the customers have slightly unique implementations and configurations, and they have different expectations when it comes to the security of the platform. So Vault allows them to apply customer-specific configurations of security and privacy capabilities to meet their individual needs. Now let's talk about what ServiceNow Vault really is and what it contains. It is our marquee security enhancement suite intended to provide additional layer of security and privacy capabilities for the Now platform, and it consists of 5 key security elements so far. 1, platform encryption, native standard-based data at rest encryption with customer-controlled key lifecycle, which allows organization to comply with industry mandates. And platform encryption does contains 2 premium products, which I will cover in the next slide. The second, data privacy, to ensure data privacy by classifying and anonymizing specific data fields containing personally identifiable information. The third, secrets management, to securely store and control access to credentials in ServiceNow like password, certificate, API keys, and the tokens. And fourth, code signing to validate authenticity and integrity of the software on the Meet server. And the last premium product is our Log Expert service, or we call it LES, which improves the security threat monitoring with easily integration of ServiceNow system logs into a larger enterprise security analytics system. So this comprehensive security solution has been packaged to make it easy for organization to order and consume the solution. So now let's talk about the platform encryption. The platform encryption addresses the key customer need of balancing how customers protect and share data in the cloud by ensuring ServiceNow data is encrypted at rest with only authorized users who can access it. It consists of 2 encryption products, cloud encryption and column level encryption enterprise, or we call it CLE Enterprise. Let's look at some of the underlying fundamentals to understand the customer value and differentiators for the platform encryption. Cloud encryption works at the database level, meaning all the data stored for the customer instances at this level is what we call encrypted at rest. The protection this is giving, similar to our older products like database encryption or full disk encryption, is that if a hard drive was physically stolen from our data center and someone tried to plug that hard drive in outside of our data center, the data would be encrypted and unreadable. This is great for protecting the theft of physical piece of hardware. However, this doesn't give any additional encryption protection for the app itself if someone is logged in. This is where the Clay Enterprise come into play. It encrypts the data within the app, and the customers can configure who should see the encrypted data or not. If we look at my instances again, we can see in the green highlighted section that certain information has encrypted in parentheses. This means that I'm logged in as a user that's been given access to this data in the app. But other logged in users would not be able to see this information. The additional benefit of Clay Enterprise is that the data stored in the database is also encrypted. So the customers using this get the value of app level and the database level encryption with a single product. The difference here is that the benefit is only for the specific fields that customers have applied Clay Enterprise to, like what you saw in my instance example. It won't be all data like what we get with cloud encryption. But it does provide additional controls to restrict what information can be seen by people logging into an instance, and even by our own ServiceNow employees. And this is a called layering or defense in depth approach. By applying both the cloud encryption and Clay Enterprise all together, customers get the benefit of protection for all data at rest in their database with additional app layer protection for specific extra sensitive fields. And for where they're additionally concerned about like who from their end or our end can access that data. Both of these also known customer managed encryption keys that they can control from right inside their instances with no need to interact with anyone from ServiceNow. So finally, remember that the competitive differentiator for us is that we can provide this app layer encryption while still allowing those encrypted fields to work with app functionality. So the next slide is more like the plugin guide and some of the available plugins and product name and product plugin name. Some of the out of the box dependent plugins that you can install if you're interested in installing the platform encryption. That has two the plugins. One is for the cloud encryption as well as the common level encryption enterprise. So after you install it, you'll get a few the features that you can double check. The one is the KMF, key management framework. So that's this the first the feature that you will see. The second one is cryptographic module, where you can create different modules based on what you need. And the second one, the third feature is module access policy. And after you create the module, you will create some sort of the policies that will go together with the module that you created. And the module will have different types based on the scope and role or the script or group based as well. And the last piece is the encrypted, the field configuration. So basically you will pick the table that you want to encrypt with the column name. And then you will, after you create the encrypted field configuration piece, and then you will need to apply those to the module access policy as well as the module that you created earlier as well. So with that, I'll jump onto the demo. Before that, I'm just gonna show a few persona here that I created. The one is the Mike Salem, who's a hospital staff responsible for creating case for patient. The second persona that I created is John Jones, who's a case scheduler responsible for monitoring the open cases with different statuses. The third is the Tom Holland, who's our IT admin responsible for maintaining the IT platform as well. So I'll jump onto the demo itself. So here I integrated three core ServiceNow product. One is healthcare life science tool that we recently built. The second one is virtual agent. The third one is Vault, especially the platform encryption behind the scene as well. So here, this is the Mike portal, who's our the specialist, to create some procedure request for existing customer called Gina Parker. So here, Mike simply can go to the virtual agent and then type, I would like to create a procedure request for Gina Parker. And then the virtual agent will process it, and then will populate with some other options. And here, the Mike will click the MRI for arm. And then simply the virtual agent is already created the procedure request from Mike on behalf of Gina Parker. Now Mike can see the request is already proceeded, and now it will pass it over to another persona called John. Now I'll switch to persona. Here's just John's workspace, as he's a scheduler. So he needs to make sure that all the case is already created with the statuses as well as some other detailed information as well. Since John is working in a space where he can get exposed to too many PHI data, so as you can see, there's a procedure, the patient, and a requesting practitioner, and primary diagnosis, as well as other detail and patient information as well. At the same time, you already see that our column level encryption enterprise is already embedded and applied to protect some of the PHI data here. If you see, take a look at some of the PHI data, especially in this section, you'll see with the parentheses called encrypted, meaning our column level encryption is already applied to these PHI data to add some additional layer of protection and privacy there as well. The reason why you think that John can see is because he has a right privilege access in order to proceed his work as well. And we'll switch to another persona, who's Tom, to see how that data will look like from in his workspace as well. So here, the John can check the details. As you see, there's a lot of encrypted the data that Clay Enterprise is already applied to. And patient information here as well. As you see, that all the data is identified in PHI and well protected here on the application level as well. Now let's switch it over to Tom Holland. So as we all know, the Tom Holland is our IT admin, only responsible for IT operations. So he's not a doctor, he's not a nurse, and he has nothing to do with the Gina Parker's the procedure process. So all he cares about is just maintaining the platform to make sure that the platform is working properly. So in his case, he is not supposed to see all the PHI data. So if we change the persona, and this is the table that the Tom is planning to maintain if there's any issues, but Tom cannot see any single PHI data, just like I presented earlier, and the John as well as the Mike. Both of them have their nurse as well as doctor persona, so they are able to see some of the PHI data. But here in Tom persona, so the Tom may not be able to see any PHI data on the database, but he still have access to the database to proceed with his maintenance work. This is how Clay applies to encrypt some of the data, not only on the application level, but also on the database level as well. So now I'm going to show one more the area of how virtual agent can protect some of the PHI data as well. Now Tom jumps to the virtual agent and he starts typing, I would like to check the status of the procedure request created for Gina Parker. And then now virtual agent can proceed it, and virtual agent is already known that the Tom doesn't have a right privilege access to see those PHI data, and the virtual agent will automatically populate with, I'm sorry, I cannot provide you the information that you're asking because it contains PHI data, and you don't have that privilege access. But all he can see is some of the procedure request, which is already created with other non-PHI data related information there as well. So with that, I conclude that I just covered the platform encryption that contains two premium products, the cloud encryption as well as the column level encryption enterprise, to see how it protects not only in the database layer, but also in the application layer for a virtual agent as well. So I'm just going to switch over to my presentation. And here's what is available for us to in terms of the social media platform that we are covering, as well as some of the documentation if you're interested in to read more about ServiceNow Vault and some of our community side as well. And again, for the sake of time, I just covered the platform encryption. There's 4 more premium products like code signing, secrets management, log expert service, as well. So if you're interested in, you can feel free to join our Platform Privacy and Academy session with covering all their topics with a little bit more in-depth with the details as well. So with that, I will pass it over to Victor to see if there's any question that he can address.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, thank you. That was a lot of good information. It just shows how Virtual Agent is really native to the Now platform. It respects encryption. It respects the data protections that you put on there. It doesn't do its own thing. You don't need to do any integrations. That just works natively on a single Now platform. So with that, we'll go to a question I answered already, but maybe you can provide more details for Cot. Someone asked, "Hey, will these slides be shared?" This deck won't be shared. However, all the info that Furkat showed, first off, is recorded. Secondly, all this info is available in the docs or community. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. At the same time, you'll be uploading everything on the YouTube as well, right?
Great. Awesome. Ekta asks in chat, what are the other 4 encryptions that you mentioned that we didn't get to cover?
Yeah, so I will go back to that slide one more time so that I can cover this. So there are 4 other platform the ServiceNow covers within that bundle. I just covered the platform encryption, but there's a data privacy. So we're going to be having Academy session around data privacy in 20th of this month. And then if you're interested in, you feel free to join to that session as well. And secrets management, code signing, as well as log expert service. So these are the 4 remaining items that we will cover in the next Academy session as well.
Awesome. So Adam asks, is that, I'm sorry, I cannot provide, etc. message in Virtual Agent a system message? Or are we having to manually check that access and respond with the message accordingly?
Let me read the question properly. Is that, okay.
I'm sorry, what's that?
It's a system. Yeah, it's a system message.
Okay. Okay, so I'm guessing that this message was in like sysui message and should be there by default?
That's correct, yes.
Cool. Awesome. And then, Mark says, thank you, and says key is also, of course, the French word for key, or CA, I think. Sorry to mispronounce that if I did.
CLE is column level encryption. That's what it stands for. Like we usually call it CLE Enterprise. That's one of the main feature that I just showed. CLE Enterprise. We call it CLE or the column level encryption enterprise. But that's what that stands for.
Got it. And then Eric asks, what happens if the admin impersonates someone who can see encrypted data? Or is that possible?
Oh, no, that will not be possible because there's a whole key management framework. So if that person doesn't have the right access to see that particular module, as well as the policy created within any field that we encrypted to that person. So even that person marks himself as an admin, that person may not be able to see the encrypted data unless they have the right key to decrypt the data there. Which is another concept of key management framework, so that in order to encrypt and decrypt the data within the instances, they had to have the right key to use to the encrypt.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in the Q&A. In the meantime, as we get more questions, I did post the community site with all the previous recordings in the chat, so feel free to take a look at that. I know we've been off for a while, so the one before this was back in April, before Knowledge, but we do plan on continuing the sessions in the next 2 weeks, where we'll go over how we built the virtual agent used at the Knowledge Conference. So yes, hopefully you guys can join in the next 2 weeks, or not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday for that. Adam asks, what triggers the check for encryption access? When you install Vault, with all conversation messages automatically be checked for proper access? Really, I'm wondering how much configuration is needed on the virtual agent side.
So To be honest, this is a little bit generic question, but this is a really good question. For the sake of argument, I just built the simple flow on the virtual agent designer, but it gets complicated and it probably requires some sort of scripting process if we need to add more encrypted layer to the conversation, as well as with different personas. Plus, depends on how many the columns that we need to encrypt and how many details information there that we want virtual agent to disclose or not disclose. So it really depends upon the use case that we are trying to drive through the virtual agent. So I cannot answer like the level of the process, how much will that be complicated, but some process will use like the card on the virtual agent designer to just check the fifth system, for example, sys user table. If we want to check someone personal information to see if we can disclose that through the virtual agent or not, it could be easier to build on the virtual agent designer. But if there are any other platform like to more like kind of like exposing PHI and the PII data, it might be a little bit difficult to answer to see if we can quickly build on the virtual agent flow designer or we use some script as well.
Awesome. Yeah, in terms of creating the procedure request record and showing the procedure request record, I mean, that's pretty straightforward, right? Like
Yeah.
So for creating a procedure record, you would use, I assume, a record action topic node. And then for showing or displaying the procedure record, you just drag and drop in a card. You select what fields you want in the virtual agent designer, and then let the Vault encryption take care of what the user can or cannot see.
Yes, that's correct. So does platform encryption replace edge encryption? So that we have the cloud encryption capability that which is data at rest solution that will cover pretty much bring the same solution to edge encryption as well as database encryption as well, with completely, just customer can, we call it like BYOK, bring your own key. So the customer can bring their own key to completely eliminate the ServiceNow access to any kind of data as well, that they can completely control all the data exposure by using their own key.
Thanks. And then Karen asks, will proactive triggers be discussed in any of these sessions? Yes, it was actually discussed in the previous session on April 18th. I could, let me try to copy this link here and put it in the Q&A. There we go. So yes, proactive triggers was covered last time. Yes. Awesome. Any other questions for Katra or myself?
Yeah, while the folks are typing the questions, so this is the Academy session. You can quickly scan the QR code, and then any question, any concern that you're having around other remaining products around Vault would be covered on these incoming sessions as well, and feel free to join that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. Yep, that's covered. Okay, yeah, so for Kat, go ahead and take us to the last Q&A slide, or actually you can leave this here since you have the QR code. But yeah, if there are no other questions, again, thank you for joining. I'll see you not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. We'll talk about our knowledge bot. And again, it's great to be back after the little knowledge break. And I will see you all soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Victor. Bye-bye.
Thanks for Kat.